Isaac Asimov published a novel in 1985 attempting to tie his Foundation, Robot, and Empire novels all into one universe. Did he succeed? Stick around throughout the video to find out. Plus, I'm going to give you an update on what I've been reading during the month of June and a little bit of sci-fi news. I'd like to start off the video talking about what I read during the month of June. So at the beginning of the month, I finished reading Schismatrix and plus the other short stories within the Shaper Mechanist universe by Bruce Sterling. I did enjoy it, and I plan on having a full review out of the Shaper Mechanist universe on the channel within the next couple of weeks. So if you're interested in that, be on the lookout. And after I read that, I also finished reading Robots and Empire by Isaac Asimov. So this novel was written as the fourth book in the Robot series. And he also wrote this book to tie his Foundation, his Galactic Empire, and his Robot novels all into one universe. So it was a fairly ambitious novel, and he had a lot to tie together within those within that universe. And quite frankly, I don't think he succeeded. Overall, I mean, this book was it was a quick read. It was fast paced, but I thought the plot was kind of contrived, and it was very obvious that the sole purpose of this novel was to try to tie everything together rather than write a good story with a self-contained plot. It does bring back the robot Daniel Olival, which I really do like his character from the Robot novels. He kind of reminds me of Data from Star Trek, if you're a Star Trek fan. So I really do enjoy this character, and I enjoyed his character in this novel. But overall, the plot didn't convince me. So what happens is this story is set 200 years after the events of the previous novel. So while it does have Elijah Bailey in it, who was Daniel's human partner detective on the planet Earth from the previous novels, he is in this book in flashbacks, but generally he wasn't overall part of the normal plot line. And also the Robot trilogy before this, all of the story is kind of like a crime mystery type fiction where Detective Bailey and Dan Neal are trying to solve a murder. This novel was not that at all. There was no criminal mystery aspect of it. So the plot of this involves a Dr. Keldon Amadiro, who you may remember him from the previous book if you've read it. He's the head of the Robotics Institute on the planet Aurora, and he's part of the Spacers group as opposed to the Settlers. The Spacers are they're a little bit more advanced. They have found ways to increase their lifespan to 300 to 400 years, as opposed to Settlers, who are they're the population of Earth. They're expanding out further into the galaxy. They are short-lived, just a normal lifespan. But anyway, so Dr. Amadiro is a spacer, and he comes up with this, him and another character come up with this plot to destroy the Earth. So Daniel and another robot character, Giskard, have to find out how to stop this Dr. Amadiro. So we have this other robot, Giskard. He has a telepathic ability where he can influence human minds and thoughts, which personally didn't really find that interesting. Didn't really care for it. There's a lot of situations in this novel where Giskard uses his ability to, get them out of situations that, I felt were just kind of a cheap way to move the plot forward. So much of this book is filled with Dan Neal and Giskard discussing through dialogue all of these different aspects of the 3 laws of robotics and its limitations. They discuss human nature, and they also spend a lot of time strategizing, trying to figure out what Dr. Amadiro's plans are for the Earth and like what they can do to stop it within the limitations of the 3 laws of robotics. Asimov also talks about a 0th law, he calls it, a 0th law of robotics, so a 4th law. The first law is robots can do no harm to humans, and the 0th law kind of adds that to say robots can do no harm to humanity as a whole. So he introduces that, which I do enjoy all of these kind of very logical robotic discussions on the 3 laws. That's probably my favorite part of the novel. But overall, the plot of this destruction of Earth by Dr. Amadiro, he's kind of on this revenge kick. I just really didn't think it was that great of a plot. Like I said, it was contrived. It wasn't all that interesting to me. I never thought for a minute, oh yeah, this guy's gonna destroy the Earth. Like, obviously the robots are gonna stop him. But, very clearly it was written because partly the Earth setting ties it into Asimov's Galactic Empire series. And then he also mentions psychohistory in this, which would tie it into the Foundation novels. And in this one, Giskard is like kind of a part of coming up, or at least helping with coming up with the laws of humanics, which is psychohistory. And I kind of like it where the Foundation books, it's just like Harry Seldon. It's psychohistory is all Harry Seldon. And this kind of makes it seem like Giskard has a role in that, or had a role in that, which I didn't really care for. I didn't think was necessary. The Foundation books are, they're classic science fiction. I'd definitely recommend reading those. And the original robot novels are also really good. But yeah, overall, I just didn't really enjoy this one that much. If you are a completionist and just want to finish the series, read all the books, go ahead. It didn't take me very long to read. It's a quick read. The plot moves quickly. But overall, I think I'm going to have to give this one a 2.5 out of 5. And, unless you're really interested, I wouldn't recommend this novel. So I also decided to pick up the March/April edition of Asimov's Science Fiction magazine. So every now and then I will go through and subscribe to one of the magazines and just to read that issue for the month or two. I don't do it very often, but I did do that for the March/April issue. And this issue was an above average issue. Usually there's a few stories that I don't like out of these, and more often than not they're below average. But this issue, almost all of the stories were good. I think maybe only 1 or 2 I didn't enjoy, but it also had a couple really good, I would consider 5-star stories out of this issue. So the first one that I'd like to talk about is called On the Night Shift by Zohar Jacobs. It's kind of a near future science fiction story about this girl who works for NASA, and there's a mission to Mars going on, and a group of astronauts is about to go into orbit around Mars, but the main character actually works on Earth at the Space Center in Texas. So she's kind of a part of the mission control. And we also have this interesting situation going on with climate change has created these massive hurricanes. So there's a hurricane about to hit Florida, and at the same time, a hurricane hitting Texas. And I think there may even been another storm in a different part of the country. But anyway, so with this hurricane hitting Florida, the primary mission control for this Mars mission is in Florida. So they're like, it takes them out of commission, and this main character she's just a backup, and so she didn't really expect to be a part of this Mars mission. And also she also has to deal with this hurricane situation on the Gulf Coast of Texas. So she ends up having to set up kind of a makeshift command center, mission control center in this hotel lobby. And she's not even supposed to be like the flight director. The flight director couldn't make it. It couldn't make it there because of the hurricane conditions. And like all of this has to happen because there's this Mars mission. It's already like they're already in space. They're almost to Mars, and they're doing they have to have these certain parameters and things where to get into the orbit around Mars, and if they miss the orbit, they're going to shoot off into space and never return. So this character has to figure out as a backup in this weird situation with serious weather how to get these astronauts in orbit around Mars. And I just thought it was a really fun kind of a NASA based good science fiction story. And it was not my favorite read of this story because there was one even better, but I do think this was a 5-star read for me. The second story I'd like to talk about, and this was my favorite story out of the whole issue, a 5-star read, called The Hidden God by T.R. Napper. So this was a cyberpunk kind of story with AI in it. It has this really interesting setting where we have this person that's kind of she's a kind of a therapist, psychologist type character, and she's invited to interview an AI that's getting developed by a major corporation, and kind of has this background of this large corporation, and this eccentric billionaire is creating an AI, and all the governments of the world. And this is an AI as in like actual artificial intelligence, not the way we talk about AI now. But this is like an actual intelligent, being. And so the governments of the world kind of restrict the access of this AI, and it's in this facility, and it's not connected to any network or anything like that. It has to be isolated. And it also has to be evaluated by this main character to determine, is this AI fit for the world, and so on. So this character is interviewing this AI and has a really kind of interesting back and forth conversation with it. And there's also kind of another. It's a novella, so there's another kind of a plot line of all these billionaires are getting murdered, and she's just kind of the main character is kind of reading the news about these things, and we do get perspective of the victims as they're getting murdered. They're all billionaires. They're all wealthy. These kind of terrible people who have done harm to society. So we have that storyline, and then we have the main character talking to the AI. And I don't want to get into any spoilers, but this is a really, really well written novel. I love the theme. I love the AI aspect. I love the kind of near future, these billionaires doing harm to humanity. I love how all of that is approached. And I'd never heard of this author before, T.R. Napper. So this is my first experience with him. But he has also written some other novels and short stories. And I think after reading this, I'm definitely going to be checking him out. One of his stories that was recently published as a novella is called The Ghost of the Neon God. And then he has a full-length novel called 36 Streets. But if his novels are on the same level as the short story I read, I mean, I'm definitely gonna be looking at him as a kind of a cyberpunk go-to in the future. So I don't know if anyone else has heard of him or read any of his novels, please let me know. But I'm for sure going to be checking him out, and hopefully I'll be able to talk about that on this channel in the future. And this issue also had a story by Ray Naylor that was it was okay. It wasn't my best of the issue, but I did enjoy reading it. It also had a story about called A Brief History of the Afterlife by Anthony Haw. That it's about uploaded consciousness and then cloning that upload and using the consciousness to pilot spaceships, which was kind of interesting. And then kind of the title story of the novel is one by Nancy Kress called Quantum Ghosts. And it was only part 1. Part 2 is in the next issue. But it dealt with there in the near future, there are these upload centers where people have uploaded their minds, and once they've uploaded their minds, they're in this this digital environment, this virtual environment, but there's no contact or communication with the outside world, so no one knows on the outside are these people still alive, what kind of lives are they living, anything like that. But on the outside, it's kind of this dystopian world, and there are these people with they can have implants into their minds. That there's kind of a network, kind of a neural network set up where you can send messages and kind of like the internet, just in your mind. And these people with certain implants are seeing these these quantum ghosts, kind of these artifacts in the air around them, walking around that kind of look like people, and it's not really sure what they are. And there's some other issues going on with the plot where these upload centers, they have this zone of electromagnetic effect that is increasing, and they don't know why, and it's a bad thing because it affects people's implants badly, and it was an interesting start to a story, interesting part 1. I'd like to see how that ends with part 2, but this AI, it doesn't have AI, but it has this uploaded consciousness, uploaded intelligence UI concept with the implants and this kind of a quantum state going on. So it does have some interesting concepts, and I enjoyed that story as well. But this is definitely an above average issue, and I have subscribed to the next issue, so I plan to read that at some point, at least to get Quantum Ghost Part 2 by Nancy Creston. And I'll probably, when I read that, I'll probably provide my thoughts on that as well. And that's it. That's what I've finished reading during the month of June. My current read for part of June and the beginning of July is You Like It Darker by Stephen King. This is a collection of short stories and novellas that came out last year. I'm not really going to talk too much about it since it's not science fiction related, but I am enjoying it so far. Figured I'd mention it, but I won't be reviewing that on my channel, and I probably won't talk about it again. As to what's on my TBR, I have no idea what I'm going to read after You Like It Darker. I'm definitely a mood reader. I typically don't have TBRs. I'll have kind of books in mind that I want to read and that I want to read soon. But usually when I finish a book, whatever I'm in the mood for, that's the next book I pick up. So I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. Probably science fiction, but we'll have to see. With all that said, that's the reading update for the month of June. And now let's get into a little bit of science fiction news. The first bit of news we have is we got an announcement and a cover reveal for The Faith of Beasts by James S.A, which is the sequel to The Mercy of Gods that came out last year. The release date for this novel is going to be April 14th, 2026. And I'm really looking forward to this one. I love The Mercy of Gods. I read it last year. It was one of my favorite reads of the year. And so, yeah, really looking forward to this one. Of course, James S.A. Corey, also the writers of the Expanse series, which I love. So, can't wait for this one. And I'll definitely be reading it as soon as I can when it comes out in April of next year. We also got some news from my favorite author, Alastair Reynolds, over on his blog. I'll add the link to the description below. But he is making progress on his new novel, Halcyon Years. He said he's finished the proofreading, and so the tentative release date is September for that, but we still don't have a cover reveal. So it may not be September, it may be sometime after, but I'll be definitely looking forward to that one, and can't wait to see what the cover is going to be as well. And Gollancz in the UK is publishing a 25th anniversary edition of Revelation Space. So this is a really nice looking limited edition. It's got, looks like a slipcase. It's got illustrations within the book. Unfortunately, only available to readers in the UK. So I'm kind of sad to see that one. I'm based in the United States, so I won't be able to get this one, but it's a really nice looking edition. The hardcover will include 6 illustrations by Richard Anderson, as well as 2 pieces of double-page artwork for the inside cover and end papers. The cover includes an adaptation of the line drawing of a light hugger that Alastair did many years ago. And the text includes a new introduction that Al wrote earlier this year. And this new special edition will be available July 3rd in the United Kingdom. Alastair also mentioned that there are 2 new publications of already existing stories that he's written in the Revelation Space universe. They're just kind of packaging them differently together. These 2 collections will consist of stories within the Revelation Space series that we've seen in earlier books such as Galactic North, and then Diamond Dogs and Turquoise Days. So they will just be titled the Revelation Space Collection Volume 1 and the Revelation Space Collection Volume 2. And, of course, they gather stories from previously published work, so nothing new there. Just a new cover And, you know, if you want, looking for the new version of those, the new edition, you can pick those up. Expected release date would be July 17th for those two. And additional news from Alastair. He has been making progress with his Merlin book that he's currently working on. So what he's doing here is bringing together the existing Merlin's Gun stories and linking them together and also providing some new material. So he said he's ended up writing quite a lot of new material. And it's been a more difficult project than he initially expected. But he's getting there. He's not finished yet. It'll be interesting to see what he comes up with on that. I have not read any of the Merlin's Gun stories, so I'm kind of excited about that he's repackaging these, rewriting some of these, adding new materials. So I'll be interested to see what he comes up with on that. Hopefully next year, maybe the year after. And then the last bit of news, he wrote an introduction to a new omnibus edition of James White's Sector General series. So this is a vintage science fiction series that's set on a hospital that treats alien patients. It looks like that's going to get re-released in a new collection. So it's been a series that I kind of been on my radar. I wouldn't mind trying out. So with the new intro by Alastair, that'll be a interesting addition to pick up. No release date on that, but I'm sure there'll be more news in the future for that. That's it for this week's video. Let me know in the comments if you've read Robots and Empire, if you've read any of the Asimov science fiction magazine stories recently. Are you excited for the new James S.A. Corey book coming out next year, or are you excited for any of the new Alastair Reynolds books? Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.